I'm an old person. I come from a long line of old people. That's what we do, we get old. My dad would have turned 114 this month. I know. I cannot wrap my mind around that. Especially since I just turned 120. I can't make the math work, you know? My mom almost made it to 94. 93 and change. So I got that to look forward to. And she was fairly healthy up through her 80s. So I got that to look forward to. Not so much toward the end, though. She developed dementia. I had to get a health aide to be with her when I couldn't be there in the last couple of years. And she, of course, did not like that. She said, "Oh, Shelly, I don't need anybody. I'm fine." I said, "No, I know you're right. I know you're okay. But you told me you don't like to be alone. I just want you to have some company." And she said, "Oh, Shelly, I don't mind being alone as long as I have somebody to talk to." So that's to look forward to. It was pretty sad when she died eventually, especially for me, because really all the way up until the end, I was still kind of hoping for a baby brother. Didn't happen.
Greetings, friends. Hello, everybody. Aloha, ciao, V Gates, all those other things that people say to start a conversation. This is the Funny Women of a Certain Age podcast. This is episode 22. And I am your host, Shelly Colman. That was me you just heard, by the way. That was recorded at Broadway Comedy Club in Manhattan. It was a fun show I got to do there. And somebody recorded it for me. So now you get to hear a bit of it. This episode, I'm going to take you back through the last 6 months of what the heck were they doing? And what we were doing was we were talking to very funny women of a certain age. It was Leanne Lord and Carol Montgomery and me. And we started out in January 2025 talking to comedian Kerri Louise. She joined me and Leanne Lord to talk about whether it's better to marry a comedian or a normal person. She picked a comedian.
I have one of those, what do you call those? What are they called now? Husbands. And I know, right? You got one of those? I don't even know why I got married. I mean, I know why. The health insurance. But I think every woman who has a husband imitates their husband in the same exact way. We all have that same husband voice, and this is it. Yeah, so my husband comes home and he's like, "I don't know what. You didn't tell me what." You're cute. Yeah, you're cute when you're a boyfriend. As soon as you're a husband, you have buck teeth and you talk like this. "I don't know." And when you're married for a really long time like me, we hunch our back. "I don't know. I don't know." And when you get married, you lose your brain. Then you start asking us where things are without even thinking where the item might possibly be. Why? My husband will just scream my name for 5 minutes. "Hi! Sweetie, where's the battery? The battery!" And the battery drawer says batteries right on it. It's been there for 5 years. "I didn't know that. You didn't tell me. How was I supposed to know that?" Yeah, but it says it because it says battery. But you didn't tell me. It says it!
That was Kerri Louise talking about her husband, who is a comedian. And with whom, by the way, she does a web show. It's called A Couple of Laughs. And they are on a summer hiatus while they go off and perform live all over the country. But they'll be back in September. So you can hear them argue live. And if you want to check out where Kerri is going to be performing, good news, you can go to see her and her husband in Laconia, New Hampshire on July 3rd. They'll be doing America's Got Comedy. It's Kerri Louise and Tom Cotter. Also in July on the 13th, Kerri's going to be doing a reading of her book, Harry the Elephant, at Barnes & Noble in Wareham, Mass. And again, you can check out their web series, A Couple of Laughs, when it returns in September. So after Kerri, we had a visit from Joanna Briley, who is a comic I have known for quite some time. She's the producer and creator of the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest. And she joined Carol and me to talk about the ups and downs of producing comedy, which is something that Carol and Joanna and I have all done with varying degrees of success. But here is Joanna talking about some other stuff.
During COVID-2020, all kinds of shit so I couldn't get COVID. All right, I was with Sister Scientist. Okay, I got all the herbs. I had peppermint leaves, sage, mint, right? All this nasty shit. I even had eye of newt. I was like, I'm not getting COVID. Do y'all remember somebody had a recipe where you put the onions and the skins of oranges and you put it over and you put your head? I drank that shit. I didn't even know what it needed. I just drank that shit, okay? I'm like, I'm not getting COVID, okay? I drank that shit. I was on the toilet for 2 days, okay? I think I'm gonna make some more because I did lose some weight. That's a nice recipe if you want to lose some weight. But also during COVID, with all the shopping, I was getting orders from UPS, DHL, because I was single. I needed to see some men's. I was opening the door naked, like, oh, come on up. Sister Lonely. I only had two come up and take the offer.
Now you can see Joanna Briley in Chicago. She is taking her show Joke Sisters on the road. That's going to be on June 28th. And she's going to be taping her first comedy album in November to celebrate her birthday. And you can catch Joanna on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, pretty much anywhere where a comedy is heard. Next, we had a visit from Monique Marvez. Monique Marvez is an amazing person. She is one of the straight talking comics that you hope to see, because she'll just tell you what's on her mind. She'll just tell you the truth. And here she is doing just that.
It's a wonderful thing. I love being older. I wouldn't want to be 25 or 35. There's like 3 disadvantages to being older for me. 3. That's it. 3. Number 1, you're counting them. Number 1, ma'am, I'll tell you one of the disadvantages. I can't wear vintage clothing anymore. I love vintage clothes. I'm a thrifter, vintage shopper, always was. When you wear vintage clothes and you're a certain age, people think you're the original owner. That pisses me off. They're like, that old bitch dry cleaned her clothes. You know what I mean? Like, that makes me mad, Anna. I don't like that. I got this dress at Forever 21 because they don't have Forever 38. So I bought this dress Niz.
Told you. Monique has a dry bar special, which you can find on YouTube. And she's got a European tour coming up end of August. It'll be the 30th of August through the 7th of September. One of the places she's going is Romania. So if you were going to be in Romania, check her out. She's also going to be in other less perhaps exotic places like Arizona, Edmonton, Canada, and Texas in September. And you can find out about all of that at MoniqueMarvez.com. In March, I had the great pleasure of talking with Vanessa Hollingshead. We talked about all kinds of things, typing, touch typing and stereotyping and Shakespeare's biggest flaw. What is Shakespeare's problem anyway? We discussed that back on episode 16. And there are some beeps and barks and other noises, but mostly it was Vanessa explaining things to me, which is one of the many good things about doing this podcast, is that these women explain stuff to me that I'm just not going to find out any other way. So here's Vanessa Hollingshead for you.
Sorry for young people, because I feel like the whole world has gotten greedy, right? When I was a kid, I was taught to share. I would teach like greed to kindergarten kids to prepare them for this brave new world. Anyone scared about the world? Right? I'd be like, hey kids, we're gonna play a fun game. It's called Duck or Get Ducked with an F. Now, Johnny, you have 2 fruit roll-ups. Why? Well, my mom says I should share. Well, your mom is stupid. I want you to hold on to those fruit roll-ups, and I want you to steal all of Sally's cookies. But that's mean. No, Johnny, that's America. And Sally, I want you to stop crying because I want you to go into Timmy's book bag and take some of his Adderall. Not all of it, because he needs to focus. But enough to kill your appetite, wash it down with the chocolate milk, and sell the remainder of pills to Donna when you call her a lazy fat pig. But Donna's my best friend. No, kids, cold hard cash is your best friend. You got that with a C? Cold hard cash. Now, I want you to learn all these skills, otherwise you're gonna wind up with a student loan debt that you're never gonna be able to pay, with some useless college degrees that you're never gonna be able to use, working at some electronics sweatshop, living on your parents' couch, addicted to marijuana brownies and video games, waiting to die.
And you can find Vanessa Hollingshead at vanessahollingshead.com. Our next guest was Teresa Roberts Logan. And Teresa, in addition to being a comedian, is a cartoonist. So we talked about all kinds of fun stuff. We talked about theater, horror movies, celebrity crushes, and Teresa and Carol decided to tell some breastfeeding stories to embarrass their sons. So you want to check that out. That was episode 17, and here's Teresa.
Now, I'm a married person. I'm married to kind of a Scottish guy, and he's very pale, and I'm very pale, and our son is translucent. We're the family they make those clear Band-Aids for. Now, I love my husband. I'm crazy about my husband, but we were at Costco the other day, and I don't know if y'all know this, but they sell caskets now at Costco. Yeah. And I want to be cremated. I don't have anything to do with caskets, but my husband wants me to be buried. I'm presuming he wants to wait till I'm dead. So he keeps trying to convince me. He's like, Teresa, you need to be buried. And I'm like, can we not? And I said, I want to be cremated. He goes, no, I think you should be buried. Well, you need to buy a casket. And I'm like, I don't want a casket. I'm really claustrophobic. And I'm standing there going, I guess they have them here, caskets at Costco, in case you really do shop until you drop. So Gary keeps saying to me, he keeps going, well, Teresa, I really want the casket thing. He goes, you know what? If you go first. And I was like, you know what? Me going first can be avoided.
Teresa Roberts Logan. She's got some cartoons, she's got some comedy, she's got all kinds of cool stuff at laughingredhead.com. Then we had a visit from comedian Wendy Liebman. Wendy Liebman has been around for quite some time. I love her comedy because it's comedy of misdirection. She starts with one thing, and by the end of the sentence, she's in a completely different country, just gone off the deep end, and it's delightful. We talked a lot about music from the 60s and 70s, among other things. She promised that she would tell Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees that I was his biggest fan. And if you want to hear that, and why wouldn't you? You can find that on episode 19, and you can find Wendy Liebman right here.
I'm so honored to be on the talk, and I actually see some of my friends in the audience, and at my age, that's what it's all about, right? Being able to see. My vision is going, even my hindsight isn't 20/20. So I have to go to the doctor next week because I've been feeling really attracted to him. And he's not interested in me, but I'm going to ask for a second opinion. I dated a doctor once. He was one of those doctors without boundaries. And I broke up with him. I just ate an apple a day. But
Wendy's going to be performing in June at Studio City on the 22nd in California. And on the 25th of June, Flappers in Burbank. And on the 29th, she's going to be at the El Portal Theater with Fritz Coleman. And, of course, you can find everything about her comedy and well, really whatever you want to know at Wendy Liebman. That's LIEBMAN.com. Our next guest is Dani Riedel. Dani Riedel joined Leanne Lord and me to talk about Star Trek cosplay, Star Trek theme songs, various other things about Star Trek, and we talked a little bit about comedy as well. Basically, it was just a nerd fest. These are the two nerdiest women I know, and that is saying something. In addition to that, Dani also took part in the New York City Miss Subways contest. And this is a little bit of that show.
Originally from Philadelphia, I had to move to New York City so I could live my truth as a Jets fan. You know what I love about being a Jets fan? It's a very low time commitment. It's a very low time commitment. Times Square, though, back in the day was different. Anybody remember what Times Square was like in the 80s? Yeah, before Disney came and screwed it all up, right? Back in the day, in the 80s, Times Square was like the dark web having a farmer's market. It was so much fun. But then here's what happened. You're going to see my anger issues come out here. Disney came along and they decided they wanted to clean up Times Square so they could put on Beauty and the Beast, the musical at the New Amsterdam Theater, right? We all know this story, Beauty and the Beast. It's about a woman who gets kidnapped, develops Stockholm Syndrome. You know, there's a dungeon involved, there's bestiality involved. You know, all the things that were already happening in Times Square at the time. They could have just set that to music and called it a day. I don't know.
Okay, there we go. Dani will be filming a 45-minute special called Planning My Relapse. That's going to be at Greenwich Village Comedy Club in New York City on July 7th. And then we'll be heading to Mexico City to take over the comedy world there. You can follow Dani on Instagram and Facebook and all kinds of other social media. It's Dani, and that's Riedel, as she pointed out, I before E, except after C. And then after Dani, I had the absolute pleasure of talking with Leanne Lord to Marsha Warfield. Marsha Warfield, you may remember from Night Court, which was a really funny sitcom back in the 80s, and then it was rebooted, and she was on it again in the last 3 years. Marsha has had a wonderful career with a huge gap in the middle, and we talked a lot about that, restarting a career and coming out late, and we took a visit to the Marshaverse. So here's Marsha Warfield.
I am the senior member of this crew. Yes, I am. I am the same age as Oprah Winfrey. Yes, I am. We were born a couple of years apart. Is that true? We were born a couple of months apart in the year of Brown versus the Board of Education. So we grew up with the Civil Rights Movement. And it shaped your whole perspective. It was on TV all the time. It was part of dinner time conversation. It was in school. It was in church. It was everywhere. I still remember the slogans from back then, like, free at last, we shall overcome, y'all gonna get us all killed. Them white folks gonna be mad, you know.
Marsha Warfield is all over the internet. You can find her, as she says in our interview, she says, Google Marsha Warfield to find out anything you want to know. Now, I can't forget Leanne Lord and Carol Montgomery, my co-hosts, my fearless leaders. Leanne Lord, known as Very Funny Lady, because that's her website, and also because she is.
When I was growing up, my mom was the disciplinarian in the house. Okay, my mom's Jamaican. They beat children professionally. But what was cool about my mom is that she would never spank me at the moment I did something wrong. She would wait. She called it waiting until she had calmed down. Which sounds really good in theory. In practice, it meant I never knew when it was coming. When I would least suspect it, my mother would swoop down out of nowhere and be like, so, you want to put crayons in the washing machine? I'm like, Ma, that was 30 years ago. I think there's a statute of limitations.
She is going to be performing in New York City at the end of June. That's the 27th. She's going to be at Dragon Con in Atlanta. There's that nerd again. That's going to be at the end of August. And then in Plymouth, New Hampshire on September the 27th with Funny Women of a Certain Age. And you can find her at veryfunnylady.com. And Carol Montgomery, she's everywhere too, including right here.
I've been married to my husband for 40 years. Stop. Don't clap. Seriously, the only reason you stay with somebody for 40 years is to see who's going to die first. Seriously. I wake up every morning, I look at my husband, I'm like, he's still breathing. The pillow must have holes. Over 40 years with the same man. Do you realize I could have killed somebody and gotten out of jail already?
Her next performances will be in Sellersville, Pennsylvania on August 9th, Newtown, Connecticut on September the 25th, and Livermore, California. She's heading out west on the 19th of September. You can find all about that on the Funny Women of a Certain Age website, or you can follow her personally on Facebook and Instagram and Spotify and Substack and Threads. And I think that's it, but if not, just Google her. So that was the last 6 months of Funny Women of a Certain Age. We got more funny women coming up, and we're all of a certain age, and I'm going to be really happy to talk to them all, and I hope you'll be happy to listen. Thanks very much for following us. Thanks very much for checking out our podcast, and I hope that you are watching all of these women do their stand-up either live or online. You can find the 3 Funny Women of a Certain Age specials now, not just on Showtime, but on YouTube, on Comedy Dynamics, pretty much anywhere, so we're really inescapable. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with a brand new podcast episode, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. You'll just have to check us out. I'm Shelly Colman. Thanks again for listening. Bye.